Where there's water, there is life. Hunza, the legendary land, subject of speculation and controversy in scores of books about its people and their language. The mighty Rakaposhi, locally called Dumani, towers over the valley. The Burosho of Hunza are a hardy and inventive people. The glacial waters are collected and channeled into an intricate irrigation system. Water is diverted along steep chutes to the paddles of a water mill. Through water courses, the water flows into fields, controlled along the way by an ingenious network of junctions, locks, and ditches. The staple crops are buckwheat and barley, supplemented by the mainstay of Hunza, apricots, of which there are at least 6 different varieties. Upper Hunza, because of its altitude, has only 1 crop a year. The first snowfall is the signal for harvesting to begin. Further south, 2 crops are possible. The soil remains fertile and needs no fallowing, for the rich silt of the streams replenishes itself constantly. The architecture of Hunza is unmistakably distinctive. Builders from Hunza are in great demand all over the northern regions. Walls are built with alternate composite layers of wood and stone. From the threshold to the vestibule of the house, a notched tree trunk, which we shall call a ladder, leads to the roof. During the formidable winters, the center of gravity shifts from the periphery of the house to the warm center. The central pillar is the richly carved shirotam, or lion pillar, venerated by the touch of the hand and decorated on festive occasions. The nucleus is the fireplace below the smoke hole, around which the women cook and spin wool. The thread is woven to make cloaks and the male Hunza cap. By custom both warm and touching, when a man returns from work, he bends down to kiss the threshold of his home. One is struck by the beauty of the perforated woodwork on the buildings. People sit on the roof, basking in the sun. One occasionally sees a husband return from work in his colorful cloak, climb to the roof, and give his wife the traditional greeting, a kiss on her hand. Apricot stones are shelled for the kernels, which provide winter nutrition and cooking oil. Some houses do not have doors and can be entered only by climbing a ladder. Almost every house has a vineyard, with grapes hanging heavy on the boughs. Underneath, the people relax to the music of the stringed sitar, surrounded by orchards of luscious fruit. The warm, hot summer passes, and it is autumn. Autumn is the most beautiful of seasons in Hunza. The leaves turn crimson and gold. Sheep are the source of the famed zebaki, a very fine woolen cloth indigenous to Hunza. Hunza is noted for its crafts. Embroidery is highly developed. Characteristic is the Hunza cross stitch used to embroider the women's caps. The ceremonial gowns of the men are similarly adorned. Food is prepared in a variety of dishes, the most notable being the soups called dodo. Scooped up with a carved apricot wooden spoon called the kapun is a kurat soup containing cheese, pieces of meat, local bread noodles, spices, and a dash of sour milk. Another favorite is apricot soup. The traditional breakfast consists of yak butter, added to salty Tibetan tea. Then pieces of pitti, one of the many local breads, is put into the tea and eaten soaked. The Tibetan yak is equally at home in northern Hunza. The yak is semi-domesticated. It often has to be caught each time it is to be milked. The yak yields milk, butter, wool, hide, and meat, but it is invaluable also as a work animal. The Kyrgyz are a familiar and welcome visitor to Hunza. A proud and free nomadic people, they rove the land in search of pasture for their livestock. The Kyrgyz are assiduous craftsmen, also coming to Hunza to trade their wares. Popular here is the kama, or the Kyrgyz felt rug. The wool is ginned and laid out on a sheet. Wool of different colors is placed on top to make floral patterns or animal motifs. It is then sprinkled with water. And rolled up tightly. Rolling it back and forth, coupled with the rhythmic pressure of the elbows, causes the wool to mat. And thus the felt rug is ready to trade.
Biz Kırgızız, biz Pamul'dan geldik. Ananı zor zor kırdan aşıp geldik. Bunda gelip bir
We came through lofty mountains and difficult passes. wading through torrents of water and negotiating large glaciers. It is through such territory that the Kyrgyz come from the little Pamirs into Hunza, moving for the most part along the historic Silk Route. The Silk Route was not as smooth as its name implies. Even today, tracks are treacherous. Yet the local inhabitants pass with ease over places so dangerous that even experienced mountaineers would hesitate to follow. At places, the only way to cross the river is by rope bridges, suspended precariously above the churning waters of mountain gorges. The skin raft is yet another ingenious way to cross rivers. The skin of the yak is inflated and mounted under a wooden structure to make a floating raft. It is employed to cross long spans and is the principal means of transportation across rivers. An equally precarious alternative is the cradle bridge, which is simply a cradle suspended by a pulley on a rope. Transport in many parts of Hunza remains, even today, a hazardous undertaking, not recommended for the faint-hearted. The historic Silk Route is marked by rock carvings, bearing witness to the passage of Buddhist pilgrims to the magical land of Udyana, the Swat of today. The carvings are often accompanied by inscriptions in several ancient scripts, dating back to at least the 2nd century BC. The inscriptions are usually supplications by the pilgrims to Lord Buddha before dangerous crossings are undertaken, and prayers of thanksgiving for a safe crossing. My name is Ali Murad. I am 106 years old. I live in Baltit in Karimabad, near the old fort. The old man nostalgically recalls an age gone by. The Baltit Fort was built 3 centuries ago by Tibetan craftsmen as a goodwill gesture. Thum was the title given to the ruler of the land who held court inside the old fort. Down below, the Buroshos engaged in mock combat in a characteristically energetic sword dance. Courtiers sat according to rank before the Thum on carpets. The ruler, attired in ceremonial robes, gave them a patient hearing from the throne, delivered justice, and regulated the affairs of state. Often the courtiers joined the commoners in their festivities, the higher in rank having the honor of dancing first. Some archaic traditions survive. The soothsayer, called the bittern, is one such age-old tradition. A circle is marked, and its perimeter is purified by fumigation with juniper smoke. Beloved of the fairies is the juniper tree, the smouldering leaves of which attracts them. The bittern begins his trance by inhaling the juniper smoke. He then begins his dance, attracting the fairies who dwell on the high peaks surrounding the valley. Is slaughtered, and the bittern leaps at it, sucking out its blood. Attracted by the smell of the blood and the juniper smoke, the fairies respond. He then sings the song that the fairies have inspired in him. The bittern was thought to be a holy man, a man so pure that he could commune with the fairies. The fairies enabled the bittern to make predictions for the future. This kind of shamanistic ritual is the essence of many primitive religions of the past. Nowhere are the Central Asian influences more evident than in the architecture of the mosques and in the content of the religion of the land, Islam. The people of Hunza are Ismaili Muslims, converted by the Sufic teachings of Hazrat Nasir Khusraw to a faith deeply imbued with the message of love and peace. A faith kept alive by the lyrics of Persian religious songs. Welcome to my land, he sings. Welcome, symbolizing the harmonious intermingling of the old and the new in this intriguing land that is called Hunza. در بازومی ما چشمیه فروزان خوش آمدید در بازومی ما چشمیه فروزان خوش آمدید ای
محرمي رموز محن خاني وجود داناي سر عالمي إمكان خشامدي داناي سر عالمي إمكان خشامدي أشرف أولاد فاطمة أي شمال جمال